My name is Diego, and I was there when Grace's story changed forever. It was a crisp autumn afternoon on October 15th, 2022, in the heart of our town, where she stood beneath the rustling leaves at the park, her heart racing as she faced the aftermath of her tumultuous marriage to her ex-husband. Just days before, we had celebrated her birthday with a dinner that should have been filled with laughter and joy, but instead they had clashed over old wounds, revealing just how fragile her newfound independence truly was. The sunlight broke through the clouds as she smiled, a fleeting moment of hope amidst the chaos that had unraveled her life. The unmistakable smell of rain on the pavement filled the air, mingling with the sound of birds chirping overhead, offering a strange comfort that day. She smiled but trembled, caught between the joy of newfound freedom and the shadows of her past. How can blood turn to poison like this? What nobody knew was that beneath her brave facade lay a secret that could shatter everything she had worked to rebuild. The aroma of apple pie wafted through the air, mingling with the earthy scent of rain on the pavement outside. Grace stood in the living room, glancing over the carefully arranged decorations that told the story of their family's rich cultural heritage. Heirloom trinkets sparkled softly under the warm light, while framed photographs of joyful family gatherings lined the mantelpiece. Today was a day for celebration, her grandmother's 80th birthday dinner. It should have been a joyous occasion, but Grace felt a knot of anxiety tightening in her stomach. As she adjusted the table settings, she could hear the distant hum of traffic outside, a reminder of the bustling world beyond their home. It was comforting and chaotic all at once. The sound faded into the background as she focused on the task at hand. She wanted everything to be perfect, to honor her grandmother's life and the traditions that had been passed down through generations. But the weight of her family's history felt heavy on her shoulders. "Wow, Grace, this place looks like a museum," Kelly exclaimed as she stepped through the door, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Grace's heart sank at the dismissive remark, but she forced a smile, not wanting to spoil the occasion before it even began. "Thanks, Kelly. I thought it would be nice to showcase some of Grandma's favorite things," Grace replied, her voice steady despite the tension she could feel bubbling beneath the surface. Mark sauntered in next, his charm radiating as he greeted the family. Grace felt a familiar pang of resentment watching him play the role of the doting ex-husband, effortlessly winning over their relatives with his easygoing demeanor. It was a stark contrast to the bitterness that had followed their divorce. "This is going to be one for the books, huh?" he said, clapping David on the back. "Got any surprises up your sleeve, Grace?" "Oh my God, I can't believe you're still trying to impress everyone," Kelly chimed in, rolling her eyes as she set her bag down. "Let's just hope Grandma doesn't start sharing her life story again. We've all heard it a million times." David, who had been quietly observing the interactions, shot a disapproving glance at Kelly. "Come on, it's her birthday. We should be respectful," he said, his voice low but firm. Grace admired her son's loyalty, even if it didn't seem to sway his aunt. As the evening progressed, laughter filled the room, but Grace couldn't shake the sense of unease that lingered in the air. Conversations flitted around the table like butterflies, light and carefree, yet there was an undercurrent of tension that she couldn't ignore. Each time her siblings exchanged glances filled with disdain, it felt like a stab to her heart. Cultural reflection. In the living room, it hurt like heartbreak. "All right, everyone. Time to hear from the birthday girl," Grace announced, trying to inject some cheer into the atmosphere. She made her way to the front of the room, her heart racing. Grandma Edith was seated at the head of the table, a small, unassuming figure whose life was a tapestry of stories woven through decades. Grace looked into her grandmother's eyes, searching for strength. "Grandma, we're so grateful to have you here with us tonight," Grace said, her voice steady. "You've taught us so much about family and love." "Oh, sweet Grace, you always know how to make a fuss," Grandma Edith replied, her eyes sparkling with warmth. "I just want to be with my family." But before Grace could respond, Kelly interrupted. "Yeah, but we all know you'd prefer if we didn't have to listen to your old stories again," she said, her tone light but biting. Grace's stomach twisted as she sensed the hurtful jab. "Kelly," David protested, his voice rising, "that's not fair. Grandma's stories are part of our history." Grace's heart raced as she watched the exchange. Why couldn't they see the value in Grandma's memories? It was like they were dismissing a part of themselves. In that moment, Grace felt a wave of determination wash over her. "You know what? Sometimes the past holds the key to understanding the present," she said, her voice stronger than before. "These stories matter. They remind us of where we come from." Mark chuckled lightly, but Grace caught the flicker of surprise in his eyes. "You've got a point, Grace," he admitted, his charm fading momentarily. Just then, Grandma Edith spoke up, her voice steady. "You're right, Grace. There's a lesson in every story." The room grew quiet, the tension simmering down as everyone turned their attention to her. "Let me tell you about the time I met your grandfather." As Grandma began to weave her tale, Grace felt a surge of hope. Thought, the smell of apple pie brought painful memories. Perhaps tonight could still be salvaged. But then, as laughter erupted around the table, she noticed a figure lingering in the shadows, watching from the doorway. A chill raced down her spine. Who was it? The evening was shifting, but not in the way she expected. And as the story unfolded, Grace couldn't shake the feeling that this birthday dinner held more than just nostalgia. It might unravel secrets that had long been buried. Grace gazed out the window. "What a beautiful day," she whispered. Mark noticed her distant look. "You seemed lost in thought." As the remnants of the birthday dinner lingered in the air, Grace sat at the kitchen table, staring into her half-empty coffee cup. The faint sound of distant traffic was a reminder of the world moving on, but within the confines of her family's home, time felt frozen. She could still hear the laughter echoing in the living room, a sharp contrast to the heaviness settling in her heart. The decorations she had so lovingly arranged now felt like mocking reminders of her efforts to create a warm, welcoming space for her family. The clinking of dishes and the bustle of cleanup enveloped her, but the warmth of the moment was shattered when she caught snippets of her siblings' conversation as they moved to the other room. Kelly's voice was unmistakable, laced with her usual sarcasm. "Oh my God, can you believe Grace thought this was a good idea? A museum for Grandma? More like a shrine to her own nostalgia." Grace's heart sank. She had poured her soul into making the evening special for their grandmother, hoping to foster a sense of love and unity among them all. But here they were, tearing each other down instead. She leaned closer to the doorway, straining to hear more. The bitterness in Kelly's tone twisted her stomach as she caught Mark's voice chiming in. "Honestly, if Grandma can't take care of herself, we have to think about her future." A nursing facility makes the most sense. With each word, the laughter from earlier faded into an ominous silence in her mind. Grace's hands trembled around her coffee cup. She had always been the glue, the one who held the family together, yet here they were, plotting to uproot their grandmother without even a thought for her feelings. It was as if the weight of the world had settled upon her shoulders. In a moment of resolve, she pushed back from the table and stormed into the living room. "What are you two talking about?" she demanded, her voice rising above the fading echoes of laughter. David, who had been cleaning up, looked up with wide eyes, sensing the tension crackling in the air. "Grace, it's not what you think," Mark said, attempting to soften the blow. "Really? Because it sounds like you're planning to sell our family home and shove Grandma into some facility?" Grace retorted, her voice shaking. "She deserves better than that." Kelly rolled her eyes, crossing her arms. "You're being overly sentimental, Grace. This isn't about you or your memories. We have to be practical." "Practical?" Grace shot back, anger bubbling to the surface. "What's practical about stripping her of everything she knows? This home is filled with her memories. You're just going to toss her away like yesterday's trash?" David stepped forward, his voice steady yet gentle. "Mom, let's just talk this through. We can find a solution that works for everyone." He glanced at Mark and Kelly, hoping for some semblance of understanding from them. Grace shook her head in disbelief. "How can you all be so heartless? My heart sank when I heard what you were planning. You don't care about what Grandma wants. You only care about what's easier for you." "Grace, please," Mark interjected, his charm faltering. "We need to think about her health. She needs care, and we can't provide that for her here." For a moment, Grace's breath hitched. The room felt suffocating, the walls closing in as the reality of their words settled. "You're all missing the point," she said, her voice dropping. "It's not just about physical care. It's about love, about belonging. You're willing to break her heart just to make your lives easier." Kelly scoffed. "You're being naive. You think she'll be happy here? She'll be better off in a place where people can actually take care of her." "No," Grace said firmly, her voice rising again. "What you're saying is that it's okay to disregard her wishes because you think you know better. That's not love, that's betrayal." In that heated moment, the kitchen felt like a battlefield, the air thick with unspoken truths. Grace took a deep breath, grounding herself. In the kitchen, it hurt like heartbreak. Just as the tension reached its peak, something shifted. David's phone buzzed on the counter, the sound cutting through the charged atmosphere. He reached for it, glancing at the screen. "Oh, Mom," he murmured, looking up, concern etching his features. "It's Grandma. She's calling." Grace's heart raced. "What? Why would she be calling now?" "I don't know," David replied, his voice laced with uncertainty. Grace's mind raced. What if Grandma had overheard their conversation? What if she knew what they were planning? "I need to take this," she said, her voice urgent as she grabbed the phone from David. As she answered, she felt the weight of her family's expectations bearing down on her. "Hello, Grandma? Are you okay?" But the voice on the other end was not what she expected. "Grace, my dear," Grandma said softly, her voice trembling with a mix of warmth and sadness. "I need you to listen carefully." In that moment, Grace realized that this conversation would change everything. The very foundations of her family were about to be shaken, and it was a twist she never saw coming. Grace took a deep breath. "We need to have a serious conversation." Mark tensed up. "About what? Exactly?" As the last guests trickled out of the living room, Grace felt a familiar mix of exhaustion and disappointment settle over her. The remnants of the birthday dinner lay scattered, half-eaten slices of cake, empty plates, and the faint smell of burnt BBQ wafting through the air. Her heart sank as she recalled the laughter that had erupted when her grandmother had opened her gift, a beautifully hand-knit shawl that Grace had spent countless hours crafting. It was a piece woven with love, yet it had been met with snickers from Kelly and dismissive glances from Mark. "Can you believe she made this?" Kelly had laughed, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "It looks like something out of a thrift store." Mark had chimed in, "Oh my God, it's definitely a conversation starter, isn't it?" The two had exchanged knowing smirks, as if they were both in on a joke that Grace was not part of. That moment stung deeply, the weight of betrayal pressing down on her chest. How could they not see the beauty in the shawl? It represented more than just a gift. It was a testament to their family's history of hardship and resilience. Grace knew she needed to talk to her grandmother. She found her in the quiet corner of the living room, a soft smile illuminating her face despite the earlier mockery. "Can we talk?" Grace asked gently, her heart racing as she approached her grandmother. "Of course, dear," her grandmother replied, motioning for Grace to sit beside her. The wind chimes outside tinkled softly, a soothing background to their conversation. "I wanted to ask about the shawl," Grace began, her voice laced with curiosity. "What does it mean to you?" Her grandmother's eyes sparkled as she took a deep breath, the scent of morning coffee still lingering in the air. "That shawl," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "has been passed down through generations. Each stitch tells a story of survival, of women who fought through hard times, just like we have." Grace listened intently, her heart swelling with pride. "I thought it would remind us of that strength, of our family's journey." "It does, my dear," her grandmother said, her gaze softening. "But sometimes the younger ones can't see beyond their own desires. They're caught up in their lives, and they forget the past." Grace felt a wave of realization wash over her. Armed with this newfound knowledge, she resolved to rally her siblings and share the significance of the shawl. They needed to understand, to appreciate the legacy they were part of. As the evening drew on, Grace sought out her siblings, finding them in the kitchen, still chuckling about the dinner. "Can we talk about the shawl?" she asked, feeling a tingle of determination. Kelly rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, Grace, not this again. It's just an old piece of fabric." Mark leaned against the counter, crossing his arms. "You really want to waste our time on this?" Grace's heart raced, but she pushed through. "It's not just fabric. It represents our family's history. Grandma said each stitch tells a story of our strength and resilience." Kelly scoffed. "Yeah, right. It's just a shawl." "Can you stop for a second and think?" Grace pleaded, her voice rising slightly. "This isn't just about you or me. It's about honoring our family. Don't you care?" Mark shrugged, a smirk playing on his lips. "Look, Grace, we all appreciate family history, but we're busy with our lives. The shawl is just a distraction." The dismissiveness of their responses made Grace's heart ache. "I can't believe this," she said, shaking her head in disbelief. "You're so wrapped up in your own plans that you can't see what's right in front of you." David, who had been quietly observing the exchange, finally spoke up. "Mom, I think what you're saying is important. We need to respect Grandma's wishes and the stories behind things like the shawl." His words hung in the air, a fragile thread of hope, but Kelly quickly shot back. "Come on, David. Don't let her manipulate you into this." Grace felt a surge of frustration, but also a flicker of hope. "I'm not trying to manipulate anyone. I just want us to appreciate where we came from. It's not just about us." In that moment, the tension was palpable. Grace looked around, her heart racing, desperate for understanding. But instead, she was met with the same indifference that had haunted her for years. Reflection washed over her. That moment in the living room changed everything. She realized that she couldn't force them to see the value in the shawl or their family's history. Just then, the unexpected happened. Their grandmother, who had been quietly listening, stepped into the kitchen, her presence commanding attention. "I've heard enough," she said firmly, her voice steady. "You all need to understand something about family. It's not about the material things, but the love and stories behind them. This shawl is a part of all of you, whether you want it to be or not." Grace felt a surge of gratitude towards her grandmother. "Thank you," she whispered, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Mark and Kelly exchanged uneasy glances, their bravado faltering. Maybe, just maybe, they would begin to see the shawl and their family in a different light. In that moment, Grace felt a flicker of hope ignite within her, a belief that perhaps the bonds of their family could be mended. "I can't believe you did this," Grace exclaimed. Mark tried to explain, but words failed him. The backyard was bathed in the golden glow of the setting sun, casting long shadows that danced across the freshly cut grass. Birds chirped cheerfully, their songs weaving through the air like a soft symphony. Grace stood at the edge of the patio, her heart heavy as she watched her family gather around the dining table, their laughter ringing hollow in her ears. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air. But even that couldn't lift the weight of disappointment pressing down on her. "Did you see the look on Grandma's face when Grace gave her that old thing?" Kelly's voice cut through the moment like a knife. "I mean, really? A shawl? What is she, 100? Oh my God, it's not just a shawl. It's a piece of our history. Grace murmured to herself, clenching her fists. She felt the sting of Kelly's words, but she wouldn't let it show. She had poured her heart into that shawl, knitting each stitch with memories of their grandmother's stories, stories of sacrifice, resilience, and love. As the sun dipped lower, Grace decided it was time to reclaim the narrative. She stepped into the circle of her siblings, her chin lifted defiantly. "Listen, everyone, I want to talk about the shawl." Mark leaned back in his chair, a smirk playing on his lips. "What's there to talk about, Grace? It's just yarn. No offense, but it's not exactly a gift fit for an 80th birthday." David, sensing the tension, shot Grace a supportive look. "Maybe we should hear her out," he suggested, trying to diffuse the situation. Grace took a deep breath, the scent of fresh grass grounding her. "This shawl isn't just any piece of knitting. It represents our grandmother's journey. She sacrificed everything for us, for this family. You all might not see it, but it's a legacy." Kelly rolled her eyes, crossing her arms. "A legacy? Please, Grace. Grandma just wants a little fun, not a history lesson." Ignoring her sister's dismissal, Grace pressed on. "When Grandma was young, she had to make difficult choices. She worked tirelessly to provide for all of us, often sacrificing her own dreams. This shawl was made with love and resilience, and it carries stories that we're at risk of losing." The backyard fell silent, the laughter replaced by an awkward stillness. Grace could see a flicker of realization in David's eyes, but Mark and Kelly remained skeptical. "You're being overly dramatic," Mark said, his tone dismissive. "It's just a piece of fabric." As the sun continued to set, Grace felt a fire ignite within her. "I've been doing some digging," she began, her voice steady. "Grandma once told me a secret about the shawl. She said she hid something significant in it, something she wanted to pass down when we were ready to appreciate it." "What are you talking about?" Kelly scoffed, but Grace could see the curiosity in her sister's eyes. "I can't believe you all are so dismissive," Grace said, her heart racing. "What if it's not just a shawl? What if there's money hidden in it, something that could help us all?" David's brows furrowed as he leaned closer. "Are you serious? Money? Where did you hear this?" "Grandma mentioned it once, years ago. She said it was a way to ensure we valued what it truly meant to be family." Grace's voice trembled slightly, but she pressed on. "If we keep treating her like this, we might miss out on something that could change our lives." Mark scoffed again, but this time there was a hint of uncertainty in his demeanor. "You expect us to believe that, just because she said something once?" "Honestly, my heart sank when I thought about it," Grace replied, feeling the weight of her words. "This isn't about the shawl anymore. It's about who we are as a family. We've lost sight of that." In that moment, a gust of wind swept through the backyard, sending leaves swirling around them. It felt like a shift, an awakening. Kelly's expression softened, though she still held on to her skepticism. "What if you're right? What if there is something?" Grace caught David's eye, and he nodded, a silent agreement passing between them. "We need to ask Grandma," he said gently, his voice steady. "It's time we face the truth." As the reality of Grace's words settled over them, the atmosphere shifted. Hope flickered in the air, mingling with the lingering scent of coffee and fresh grass. For the first time that evening, Grace felt a sense of unity, a reminder that perhaps the bonds of family could still be mended. "Let's go talk to her," Grace said, determination setting in her voice. "We can't let this legacy slip through our fingers." The evening sky darkened, but in the growing twilight, Grace felt a newfound strength. She had confronted the shadows of neglect, and now, perhaps, they could finally begin to understand the true meaning of family, and what they stood to lose if they didn't. "I can't believe this," Grace whispered in disbelief. "I can explain everything," Mark said desperately. The scent of fresh apple pie wafted through the living room, mingling with the faint smell of grass from the open window. Grace stood at the center of the room, her heart pounding as she prepared for the family meeting. She had hoped that today would be different, a chance to unite her siblings and grandmother under a common goal. But as she glanced around, the tension was palpable, thickening the air like the distant sounds of traffic filtering through the open window. "Are we really doing this?" Kelly's voice dripped with sarcasm as she folded her arms, leaning against the doorframe. "What's next? A family council for the shawl?" Grace felt her heart sink. "This isn't just about the shawl, Kelly," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "It's about Grandma's legacy and what this home means to us." "Legacy?" Kelly scoffed, her eyes narrowing. "You mean your idea of a legacy. Why should we care about some old knitting project?" Mark, leaning casually against the wall, chimed in. "I think we all have better things to worry about, Grace. It's just a shawl." His charm felt like a dagger, striking at the heart of her resolve. Grace fought back the wave of frustration rising within her. "It's not just any shawl. It's a piece of our family history. Grandma poured her love into every stitch." She gestured toward the hand-knit shawl draped over the back of a chair, its colors soft and inviting. "Yeah, well, love doesn't pay the bills, does it?" Kelly shot back, her voice sharp. Cultural reflection. In the living room, it hurt like betrayal. Grace took a deep breath, trying to gather her thoughts. She had come prepared, hoping to invoke their grandmother's spirit and vision for the family home, a place filled with memories and laughter. "I've invited some friends and neighbors who can share how much Grandma has contributed to the community. They'll help us see the bigger picture." David, sitting quietly at the edge of the couch, finally spoke up. "Mom, I think that's a great idea. Everyone loves Grandma. Maybe hearing those stories will change things." Kelly rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, David. You think a few sweet words will change anything?" Grace glanced at her son, his support a small beacon of hope amidst the shadows of doubt. "This isn't just about us. It's about honoring Grandma's wishes," she said, her voice firm. "I can't believe you don't see that." Mark shrugged, a disinterested smirk on his face. "Look, if this is going to be a sob fest about family ties, count me out. I've got better things to do." "Mark, this is our family," Grace exclaimed, her frustration boiling over. "You might have left, but you don't get to dismiss what we're trying to do here." He shrugged again, his indifference cutting deeper than any words. "You're making a big deal out of nothing. Just let it go." Suddenly, the doorbell rang, breaking the tension. Grace's heart raced with a mix of anticipation and dread. She opened the door to find a couple of elderly neighbors, their faces beaming with warmth and familiarity. "We heard there was a gathering and thought we'd stop by," one of them said, holding a plate of cookies. "Thank you for coming," Grace said, grateful for their presence. "We're just discussing some family matters." As they settled in, Grace took a moment to reflect on the importance of community and support. She knew that Grandma had touched so many lives. Perhaps these stories could bridge the gap her family seemed determined to widen. "Do you remember how Grandma organized that fundraiser for the library?" one neighbor began, their voice filled with nostalgia. "She knitted those hats for the children, and everyone loved her for it." Grace watched as her siblings' expressions shifted ever so slightly. David leaned forward, clearly intrigued. "I didn't know that," he admitted, glancing at Grace, who felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. "Yeah," Kelly muttered, her tone softening a bit. "I guess that was nice." "Nice?" Mark interjected, his skepticism returning. "It's just a few stories. What does that even matter?" But Grace saw it, just a hint of uncertainty in his eyes. "It matters because it's part of who we are," she insisted, her voice steady despite the rising tension. "And it matters to Grandma." As the neighbors shared more stories, Grace felt a sense of unity forming. Even Mark seemed to be listening, if only out of curiosity. The warmth of the apple pie and the heartfelt recollections began to weave a fragile thread of connection among them. Then, just as the conversation reached a peak, Grace decided to lay the final piece of her plan on the table. I want us to think about the future of this house and what it could mean for our family. Grandma envisioned a place where we could gather, remember, and create new memories. Can we not honor her vision?" Kelly looked at her, then at David, who nodded in agreement. "Maybe," she said slowly, "but it's not just up to you, Grace." Grace felt a surge of determination. "It's up to all of us. Let's not let her legacy fade away. It's time we come together." Cultural reflection. That moment in the living room changed everything. The room buzzed with a new energy, a hesitant but palpable shift. The stories had begun to take root. And as Grace met her siblings' eyes, she saw the possibility of healing, a chance to reclaim their family one stitch at a time. Grace clenched her fists. "I don't want to hear any more excuses." Mark hung his head. "I'm truly sorry." The sun had barely risen, casting a soft glow over the porch where Grace sat, cradling a steaming cup of morning coffee. The aroma wrapped around her like a warm blanket, a brief respite from the impending family storm. Birds chirped in the distance, but the peace felt fragile, almost mocking, considering the tension bubbling beneath the surface. Today was the day she would confront her siblings about Grandma's legacy. As the clock ticked closer to noon, David arrived, his face reflecting both concern and determination. "Mom, are you ready for this?" he asked, setting his backpack down and taking a seat beside her. Grace sighed, her heart heavy. "I have to be. I can't let them dismiss Grandma's stories any longer." David nodded, glancing toward the door as Kelly walked in, followed closely by Mark. Kelly's eyes sparkled with mischief, a smirk playing on her lips. "Oh my God, what a lovely day to discuss something as dull as a shawl and old stories," she quipped, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Mark chimed in, flashing his charming smile. "Come on, it can't be that serious. We've got better things to do than reminisce about the past." "Exactly," Kelly added, crossing her arms. "Let's just sell the house and move on. It's not like Grandma can use it anymore." Grace felt her heart sink at the callousness in their words. "But it's not just about the house," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor of hurt beneath. "Grandma poured her heart into that shawl. It's a part of our family history." Mark waved his hand dismissively. "It's just a piece of fabric, Grace. You're overreacting." The tension in the air thickened, and Grace knew it was time to lay it all on the table. "You're wrong, Mark. That shawl represents something much deeper." She took a deep breath, summoning all her courage. "I've been working on a community project to honor Grandma's stories, and I believe we can turn her legacy into something meaningful. We could create a space for everyone to share their memories, to celebrate who she was." Kelly rolled her eyes. "What, so we can have a museum? Like that's going to attract anyone?" "You don't get it," Grace shot back, her voice rising. "This is about preserving her spirit, and about the money." "The money?" Mark interrupted, his interest piqued. "What money?" Grace hesitated, weighing her words carefully. "I found out that Grandma had set aside some funds, enough to support this project and keep the house in the family. It's meant for us to honor her, not to sell her memory off to the highest bidder." The room fell silent. Grace could see the gears turning in her siblings' minds, their faces shifting from skepticism to curiosity. "Oh my God, I can't believe this," Kelly finally said, her bravado faltering. "Why didn't you tell us sooner?" "Because I didn't want you to dismiss it like you always do," Grace replied, her voice softer now. "I thought maybe if you heard the stories first, you'd understand the value of what we have." David leaned forward, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "Mom, tell us about the stories. Let's hear what Grandma meant to you, to all of us." Grace smiled, feeling a flicker of warmth in her chest. "There's so much to share. Like the time she brought us all together for that Thanksgiving dinner, and she made her famous apple pie. The smell filled the entire house, and we couldn't wait to dig in. She had this way of making everyone feel loved, even when times were tough." Mark shifted uncomfortably, the charm fading from his demeanor. Okay, but how does that help us now? Grace pressed on, her voice stronger. It helps because those stories are what bind us. If we can share them, maybe we can find a way to honor her together rather than tearing each other apart. This isn't manipulation. It's a chance for us to reconnect as a family. Kelly's expression softened, the jealousy melting away as she considered Grace's words. I didn't realize how much Grandma's legacy meant to you. I've always felt like you overshadowed me with your accomplishments. Grace reached out, placing her hand on her sister's. I never meant to. This is about us all and honoring Grandma's life. We can't keep fighting over who was loved more. We need to embrace our family's history together. The moment hung in the air, a fragile thread woven from hope and understanding. Fine, Mark said finally, his tone less dismissive. Let's hear the stories. But if we're going to do this, it has to be a family effort. We either commit to it fully or we let it go. Grace nodded, her heart racing with the possibility of healing. Together then, we'll make it work. As they began to share their memories, Grace felt the weight of the world lift off her shoulders. In that moment, surrounded by the laughter and love echoing through the porch, she knew they were finally beginning to honor Grandma in the way she always wanted, a legacy built not just on stories, but on the strength of family. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the backyard as Grace stood near the grill, the mouth-watering aroma of barbecue wafting through the air. She could hear the wind chimes tinkling softly, a soothing melody in the cool evening breeze. It felt like a different world out there, away from the tense conversations that had lingered during dinner. Can you believe how they reacted to Grandma's shawl? Kelly's voice cut through the calm, laced with disbelief as she leaned against the wooden fence, arms crossed tightly. Grace looked over to see her sister's expression, a mixture of annoyance and guilt clouding her features. David was there too, his brow furrowed in thought, clearly searching for the right words. Honestly, I thought it was beautiful, David finally said, breaking the silence. It's a piece of her, you know, something that represents everything she's done for us. Grace felt a warmth spread through her chest at his words. She had always known David had a good heart, but hearing him stand up for their grandmother made her heart swell with pride. Exactly, she added, turning to face Kelly. It's not just a shawl, it's a legacy. Kelly scoffed, shaking her head dismissively. A legacy? Seriously? What do you think it's worth? Just some old yarn? The sarcasm dripped from her voice like rain on pavement, and Grace felt her heart sink. Kelly, it's not just about the shawl, David interjected, clearly frustrated. It's about what Grandma means to us. It's about remembering her and the love she poured into this family. The wind rustled through the trees, momentarily drowning out their voices. Grace took a deep breath, the fresh smell of BBQ mingling with the earthy scent of damp grass. We need to honor her wishes, she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. She wanted this house to be a place for all of us to gather, to create memories together. Kelly rolled her eyes, but Grace could see the flicker of understanding in her sister's gaze. I don't want to be stuck in her shadow forever, Kelly admitted, her voice softer, almost vulnerable. I've always felt like I was living in her light. That's not what Grandma wanted, Grace said gently, the strength of her conviction cutting through the tension. She wanted us to shine together, not apart. For a moment, the backyard was silent, the only sound the gentle chime of the wind chimes. Each sister held their breath, the weight of their grandmother's legacy hanging heavily in the air. The evening wore on, and slowly the family began to reconcile. They sat around the table, laughter echoing in the space once filled with sarcasm. They shared stories of their grandmother, recalling the warmth of her hugs and the way her laughter could light up a room. The shawl, once an object of ridicule, became a symbol of their shared history, a reminder of the love that tied them together. As they gathered to discuss plans for a community project in honor of their grandmother, Grace felt a sense of purpose swell within her. Let's preserve this home, she suggested, her heart racing with excitement. and let's create a space where we can all come together, just like she would have wanted." Mark, who had remained quiet until now, chimed in. "I think that's a great idea, Grace. We could even use that shawl as a centerpiece in the project. It represents her spirit, after all." Grace smiled, her heart feeling lighter than it had in years. "That's perfect," she said, looking around at her family. "Let's make this a place of healing and unity. A space where we can celebrate her life." The smell of BBQ mixed with the laughter of her family, and Grace felt hope bloom within her. The foundation of their future was beginning to take shape, built on the love and strength that their grandmother had instilled in them. As the night wound down, Grace found herself sitting on the porch, watching the stars twinkle above. She thought about how the evening had transformed, how laughter had replaced sarcasm, and how her family was starting to understand the value of their grandmother's gift. "Grace," David said, joining her on the porch, "I can't believe how much has changed in just one night." "I know," she replied, her voice soft. "It's like we finally realized what really matters." And in that moment, Grace understood that the true gift wasn't the shawl or the house. It was the love and connection they had rediscovered as a family. At the birthday dinner, they laughed at the old woman's gift, but what she gave them later wasn't a present at all. It was a lesson in love, in unity, and in the strength of family bonds. And you, on your porch, how do you honor the legacies that shape your life? Grace smiled for the first time in days. "Everything will be okay." Mark nodded. "You're stronger than you know."